Hello everybody, it's old Shazziz here. I'm out here in my mad science laboratory. Hope you're all doing well. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good night, whatever the case may be on your side of the planet. So, wait a second here. I think I lost my Skype somewhere. What in tarnation just happened there? Oh well, I'll fire that back up. But in the meantime, let me first say to everybody out there, keep my friend Mike Stevens in your dreams, or your prayers and hopes and all that kind of stuff. I got a message down the line that his mama wasn't doing so well, and you know, that's a terrible thing. I don't know what I'd do if I'd lost my mama. That's just beyond me there. So Michael, from MSI Radio and all your friends out here, we love you, and we hope for the best for your mom and all that. Anyway, I don't know what just happened there. I lost my Skype there. Cultus, are you still there? Oh, okay. We'll try to get him back on there. Dad, burn it. Yeah, that's modern technology for you folks. Anyway, you're listening to Shazziz Mad Science there, and man, I'll tell you what, I'm just, it hit me for, I'm going to get Cultus back on there. There we go. Do-do-do-do-do.
There we go.
Hey, brother, sorry about that. I don't know what in tarnation happened there, but my Skype just crashed on me.
That's all good, brother.
All right, well, anyway, let's get into this deal here. I want to go back in time. I was probably about 9 or 10 years old, and they started talking about a hole in the ozone layer. Sure, you've heard of that, right?
You most certainly have, just above Antarctica down the bottom there.
Yeah, well, here's the funny thing about ozone. Do you know how ozone is actually created?
Well, if I'm still there, you've just cut out a bit, but yeah, ozone's created through high energy, like lightning bolts, and we can create that with the Tesla coil as well, and other high voltage applications.
Yeah, see, so with that said, nature's pretty tough. Mother Nature is tougher than we will ever even dream to be. I listened to your radio show last week, and brother, thanks again for all your support and everything, man.
No worries at all, mate.
That was just an awesome show. But as I was listening to the deal you was talking about, global warming / climate change and all that kind of stuff, I'm not sure if you knew this, but that's like one of my pet peeves of the science community, because back when I was a kid, I remember when they very first started talking about global warming. See, I was a zit-faced science geek, I was in the books, man. I was in the books deep. And so I'm listening to the news come on there, and they were talking about how the planet was heating up, and that, you know, it was all because of CO2. And I started listening to this, and I was like, Mom, this could be bad, you know, I've got to pay attention here. Because it only takes a 3 degrees temperature difference to cause catastrophic weather throughout the entire world because of the way the system is set up. And so I start listening. Huh?
So we're told.
You love using wipes,
yeah.
But do you love the
What in
recipe
tarnation? I got an advertisement going on my Skype? Really?
Take the Lysol Power and Free Wipes Challenge. Lysol
How in
Power
the
and Free
heck did
Wipes
that
treat
happen?
less than chlorine.
That's probably why my
And
Skype
no
crashed.
residue.
I think
Sealed
so.
hydrogen peroxide
How do you shut it off?
attacks grease and tough messes.
I don't know.
And kills
Go through Windows.
99.9% of germs.
Where's it coming from?
It's coming from our Skype window.
Take the
Oh no, is that from your Skype windows? To click on your name up the top left there.
Yeah, I got it now. I shut it off. What in tarnation? See, now you got to go use Skype. You got to deal with freaking advertisements in your window now. Really?
Far out.
Cool.
That's pretty hardcore.
All right.
Pretty rude.
Anyway, back to the topic at hand there. Anyway, so I started listening to them talking about the old global warming thing. You know, the planet heating up. See, I want to backtrack. I want to go back to the hole in the ozone layer. All right. Well, like I said, nature's pretty tough. nature knows what nature's doing, and I don't know if you've ever seen that show on Discovery Channel, 500 Years After Man. 500 years after man's gone and we're not on the planet anymore, there won't even be any signs of us around, with the exception of maybe something that might survive, like the, let's say the pyramids, you know, because they're made out of stone in a dry climate or whatever, and so they seem to stand the test of time. And old statues like Easter Island and so on down the line. There's so many different really cool looking things that are mind-boggling on how they actually did that, but that's another story for another time. The fact is, there's no chemical that we have ever created in this history of man that wasn't from natural chemicals in the world. Now, keep in mind, we can make ourselves sick. We can pollute our local environments to the point where we get cancers and everything under the sun. So in that sense, I agree with regulating the industry so that they're burning cleaner fuels, and that's why I do alternative energy. I mean, they're always complaining about global warming, climate change, which I'm a climate change denier, so to speak. And I'll tell you why, because and I hate really getting into this conversation, because I listened to your show and you guys had a lot of good information that you'd researched and stuff like that, and it's not I don't want to lose a friend over something as stupid as global warming / climate change.
Never lose a char over a difference of opinion.
Yeah. But see, here's the thing, man. As I'm sitting there and I'm jumping back and forth, but I got to go back to the hole in the ozone layer. All right. Yep. Well, the hole in the ozone layer, created by, whether you want to call it rockets being shot through the atmosphere or planes up in the atmosphere, whatever. However you want to say it got there. They said it got there via hairspray, and they say it got there via freon leaking out of air conditioning units.
Yeah, the old CFCs, eh?
Yeah, which is a whole hock of hooey altogether. Anyway, so now we're going to jump forward. We're going to jump forward to the global warming scare. First they were saying we were going into an ice age. That's another part of this whole deal. But either way, so I'm listening to them talking about the science on there. And they're talking about how CO2 was getting trapped in the atmosphere, and it was actually causing the planet to heat up and this and that. And
it's time to change the way we clean.
What the heck is up with these ads? So I'm listening to them. They're talking about the doggone CO2 getting trapped into the Earth's atmosphere. And I'm saying, hold on a second, that ain't right. Mom's like, what you talking about, boy? And I said, Mom, CO2 is nothing more than 2 oxygen atoms connected to 1 carbon atom. Atom, molecule, whatever, however you want to say it. Okay, well, either way, all right? When you're in an airplane, 10,000 feet is the highest that you can go without supplemental oxygen. All right, at 14,000 feet, the oxygen mass come down, and at 30,000 feet, then you need to have the plane pressurized with oxygen, otherwise you're going to suffocate up there in the air. Mountain climbers, as they're climbing up Mount Everest and all that, they'll tell you that the higher they get, the thinner the air gets. It gets harder and harder to breathe. So with that said, how is it that something that is heavier than oxygen is magically being able to make it up there where oxygen cannot go? And since CO2 is heavier than oxygen, it displaces oxygen. That's why they always tell you that if you're at the base of a volcano, you got to be real careful, because volcanoes will put off CO2 and other chemicals like that. But CO2, you can't taste it, you can't see it or anything like that. You can literally walk up into a pool of CO2 because it pools up in low-lying areas, and it will literally suffocate you to death. So,
same thing in farming silos as well.
Yeah, and so that's why they're able to find CO2 deep in ice cores, Yep. Because it's not going up to the atmosphere. If it was true what they were saying, that CO2 was actually getting trapped in the Earth's atmosphere, even in the parts per million, which is ludicrously tiny, I mean tiny.
Yep.
then we would all suffocate. And on the methane, if there was enough methane to go from the cow's butt all the way up to the Earth's atmosphere and actually create a temperature difference in the world, the first time you went outside to light a smoke, you'd find out what real global warming was all about. So I've been hollering about this for well over 20 years. I've been saying, look, the science just doesn't add up. Now I know there's a lot of papers out there. There's a lot of scientists out there that say that this is a problem and all that kind of stuff. There were also folks out there telling us that Planet X was going to slam into us and Comet Element was going to kill us, and that the year 2000 the computers were going to crash, and the Mayan calendar 2012 and all that kind of stuff. But mankind somehow or another has managed to survive it all.
Yeah.
The truth of the matter is, the Earth isn't in a perfect circle around the sun. It's in what's known as an elliptical orbit around the sun, which is kind of like
an oval shape.
Yeah, there you go. And so every so often, as we're going around the back of the sun and we're coming back out into space, and we're getting ready to go back out into space, we get just a hair closer to the sun than normal. Never close enough to burn up, but close enough that as we're heading back out into space, it's like taking off running and somebody grabbing a hold of your hair and tilting you backwards. If you pay real close attention in the morning and you watch where the sun's coming up, you know what a sundial is?
Mm-hmm.
Well, make you a homemade sundial, but put the points of the compass on there. Put north, south, east, west, and all that kind of stuff, you know.
Yep.
And make you a sundial and set it out there, and every morning as the sun's coming up, watch and see where exactly the sun's coming up. You can make a pointer towards the sun, and then you can make a pointer that goes away from the sun so that you can get a direct line of path for when the sun comes up. And then track that sun through the day and see how it's going. Right now in my area, the sun is coming up in the northeast and setting in the northwest, which means it's making an arc around. So that tells me that we've tilted to some degree, and the weather patterns, our seasons are off by at least a month and a half at the least. You know, we'll get cold weather and then hot weather, whatever, and the wobble of the Earth has actually increased as well. You know, you're familiar with the term supermoon, right?
Yep.
Well, that's essentially the moon isn't in a perfect circle with us either. It's also an elliptical orbit. That's what actually causes us a wobble. It causes our tidal activity, and it causes seismic activity. So the moon benefits us in several ways. First, it mixes up our chemistry, and second is it flexes our crust enough so that we don't freeze in space. It keeps that friction going, which actually causes heat in the Earth. So, with that said, the Earth is 3/4 water. Water has a cooling effect as it when it evaporates and it falls. It has a cooling effect. Out into space, it's cold as crap in space. That's why the higher you get away from the Earth, from the actual thermal that's actually built up during the day when the sun's shining on one side, and the flexing of the crust and the actual core itself, then you're warm down here, but the higher you get in elevations, the colder it gets. So with that said, at the top of the Earth and at the bottom of the Earth, we got the polar ice caps. Well, they show all the time how these big pieces of ice are melting and falling off, and they're like all concerned and everything, saying the sea levels is going to rise. But what they're not showing anybody is they're not going over to the opposite side where the actual ice is getting thicker on the opposite side of the deal. What's happening here, because the temperature difference at the top of the Earth and at the bottom of the Earth, it never changes. The Earth isn't in some sort of little glass sphere where we can actually affect the temperature of how things is going on. We have we have an ozone layer, and we have atmospheric layers and all that kind of stuff, but the closer you get to the space, the colder it gets. So at the top of the Earth and at the bottom of the Earth, it's as coldest as it's ever going to get, because the sun isn't shining directly on the top or the bottom. It's like if you took a basketball and you shined a flashlight on there. And speaking of that, I put a link to a video in the chat room. I'll drop it in there again, to a video that I did over a year or so ago called Earth Tilted. if you watch that video, you'll see the basketball thing that I'm talking about. When you shine the light on the basketball, you notice that only half the basketball is lit up no matter how far the flashlight goes back into space or whatever. Well, if you're holding that basketball and you're shining the light on there, you can see where the sun shines during the day. And then if you tilt it, you'll notice that the equator would have been on one side higher and on the opposite side lower. So when you tilt the Earth, you literally change the weather patterns from top to bottom because they're used to, certain things like water being heated up and air being heated up and the ground being heated up. So temperature difference is going to change when you tilt the Earth. You follow me so far?
Yep.
So with that said, the reasoning behind any of the conspiracies out there, any of the doomsday prophecies or whatever, you can always follow back to financial. But getting down to basic science, when you actually look at the basic science, thermal or infrared heat is the worst possible heat there is. I mean, you can get one of those little nifty infrared heaters and you can start heating up your house. It takes a long time for the actual infrared to actually heat up your house. And then once you shut it off, it cools down rapidly because it's not like a direct heat. It's not like the sun shining on you.
But it's also a penetrating heat, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it'll heat up objects to a certain extent, but then those objects won't retain that heat for very long after you shut it down. And so with that said, the Earth half of us is in the dark, the other half of us is in the light. And so during the daytime, we gather up enough heat so that when we go around on the back side, on the dark side of the sun there, then we'll survive the night because it won't get too damn cold. But you notice that at night it gets cold outside. Well, so now you got all kinds of different factors. You got wind, you got the dark side, you got water, rain, and all these things that are actually cooling down the planet as we speak. But when people check around in their local environment, like last year, we had one hell of a drought here in Missouri. I mean, it dried out everything. It dried up the ponds, but we were getting somebody else's weather because the Earth had actually tilted to some degree. They tried to say that it was because of an earthquake in Haiti that the Earth actually tilted, and they've even went as far as to say that the magnetic field of the Earth was shifting, that we were going to have a magnetic pole shift.
Yeah.
Well, if you think about it, man, seriously. The only way to literally change the magnetic field of the Earth, the positive, the north and the south field of the Earth, is to literally take the Earth's core and flip it. Somehow flip it real fast. You'll shift it from north to south real quick, and then, your compass won't read right. A mechanical pole shift, which is the equivalence of the actual Earth's crust moving from north to south, would be so devastating in such a short period of time that it would be unsurvivable no matter what kind of bunker you were in or anything. It's just, you couldn't do it. I mean, there would be earthquakes, floods, pestilent plagues, famine, rioting, looting, pillaging. It'd be stupid. But I'm not trying to knock anyone's research, but the information that we've been fed, and it happens to everyone. It happens to everyone out there, no matter what you're trying to research. Somebody is always trying to debunk or whatever the whole damn deal. So when folks go out and they're studying climate change and CO2 and all that kind of stuff, see, I'm pissed off for the Australians. I'm mad because they are literally stealing. They're stealing from the Australians because the Australians pay the highest carbon tax of the world, and it's sickening.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, is we also get a few kickbacks for that as well. Like, the government actually gives us money to pay that.
Well, I suppose
it's a real confusing little situation there, but like myself on the pension, I actually get extra money in my pay now, which is carbon tax money, basically, to make up for the fact that we have to pay for a carbon tax.
Yeah, but see, brother, I understand that, and that's a good deal that the government wants to pinch off a few pennies for you, but they're literally stealing from you, because the basic science of the whole deal discredits the scene. If you go back, if you follow this entire deal back to where, Greenpeace and all the different the green organizations were trying to save the planet, I admire them trying to save the planet. I really do. But this planet is tougher than we will ever be.
Oh yeah, of course.
This planet could shake us.
Mother Nature wants to shake us off, mate. She'll
yeah,
with no problems whatsoever.
Like a bad set of fleas, brother. If we piss Mother Nature off, Mother Nature will kick our ass. That's plain and simple. Yeah. And so, with that said, that whole system it's an amazing self-contained biosphere of epic proportions. The Earth is a thermoelectric generator of epic proportions, and so nature has everything in control. Now, the only thing that we got to do is get ourselves in control. Stop fighting over stupid stuff and start working with the resources that we have available and making this world a better place. But look at the wars fought over resources, oil, water, and all that kind of stuff. There's more energy in this world than we could ever use in a billion lifetimes, and that's fact. There's nobody that can dispute that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, very true.
But these guys, politicians, special interest groups, and all that kind of stuff, while they're out there stirring the pot amongst us, we all need a cause. We need something to go out there and try to save the world for. We need some sort of purpose in life. And that's human nature. I think that our purpose in life is learning how to use all these resources that we have available to make everyone's life better. Alternative energy for everyone, alternative food. We're spending an astronomical amount of money on taxes and all these different things in the world, and we're not taking care of ourselves. We're not taking care of one another. We are literally paying somebody to fat cat in some mansion, drive around in a limousine built like a Sherman tank on crack, while we're driving around in our junky old hoopties, is what they call them down in the ghetto. And we're bickering amongst each other about all kinds of things. Everything from whether you're Republican or Democrat or Libertarian or an independent or all that kind of stuff. While these knuckleheads are playing us like a banjo, we could be excelling in our lives, like this deal we're talking about doing the virtual labs. We could get together in those virtual labs and we could solve issues on a massive scale. We don't need them guys to tell us all this crap that they've been feeding us for years. If you think about this, man, seriously think about it, just the basics of it. Oxygen. You climbing Mount Everest, the higher you get, the thinner the air gets. It gets to the point where you can't even breathe. And I've had people try to tell me that, look, man, this is how it's getting up there. The wind's blowing it there, Well, wait a second. Why didn't the wind blow more oxygen up there? Carbon monoxide is what comes up.
The thing is, we've got to live down here with that carbon dioxide. I know what Steve's saying, that everything flourishes with carbon dioxide, but that's trees. Humans don't breathe carbon dioxide. That's a bit of a
well, I agree.
Misconception he's certainly got there that, okay, trees are going to flourish. No worries. I'll agree with you that. Trees are going to love carbon dioxide.
I agree.
We're not.
Brother, I agree with you. I'm not arguing about the whole CO2 thing. What I'm trying to say is this. If CO2 was a problem for us, you would know it immediately, because you would not be able to breathe. CO2 will displace oxygen.
Yep.
I'm going to add Steve to the call if that's all right.
Go for it. Yep.
Hey, buddy, how's it going?
I've got to interject there. I'm sorry, Cole. As far as when they're cutting down trees the size of Germany every month, then stop cutting the bloody trees down.
Oh yeah, no, I fully agree that we need the trees to convert the carbon dioxide into oxygen for us to breathe. But
it's a
that's another step
it's
in
a
the
death
hole.
coal. It is a death cult where they're trying to kill us.
Yeah.
Once you get your head around that, then you start getting into slogans and you stop getting into buzzwords and you actually start looking at science.
There is one thing that we can all agree on, though. I am quite certain of this. There is one thing that all three of us can agree on right now, and that is, as individuals, we need to do more to help Mother Earth.
I agree 100%.
We go and shoot a banker.
Oh, we don't advocate violence here on MSI Radio.
We don't control
so
the industry. We don't get to choose what type of car we drive. We don't get to choose what sort of technology is in the cars. This is all supplied to us for a financial concern. So I'm sorry, cutting down my quality of life.
Okay, but
in a plastic bucket isn't going to fix anything.
Okay, but let's get back down to the basics, guys. The basic science. And here's the thing, man. Cars don't produce carbon dioxide. They produce carbon monoxide, which is one oxygen atom connected to one carbon atom. So, with that said, even carbon monoxide is heavier than oxygen. And the reason why carbon monoxide is so dangerous to us, carbon dioxide can suffocate us. Carbon monoxide will poison us. Carbon monoxide is small enough it actually fit in the respiratory system. Carbon dioxide just displaces the oxygen and makes it so you can't freaking breathe.
So there isn't sufficient carbon dioxide in the atmosphere to cause us a huge problem below 1,000 parts per million. Well, I've worked in greenhouses with 900 parts per million for hours at a time with no problems.
So
there's a stipulation on how long you can stay in that greenhouse, though, isn't there?
No, it's called having a break, mate. You stop every 4 hours because you eat.
So
I've spent about 7 hours in there before where we've ate our sandwiches in the greenhouse.
So with
no headaches, no problems, nothing at all.
So with all that said, guys, listen to this, man. Somebody out there is making a fat load of money off of, the information sounds good. It does. It sounds good. The polar bears are going to drown. The sea level is going to rise. Have you ever seen a polar bear? Polar bears can swim for miles, man.
Yeah.
Polar bears are made specifically designed to float with hollow fibre fur. A polar bear can't drown even if it dies. It'll float on the surface.
Here's what I want. My point I want to make. Nature's tough. I go out and mow my grass, all right, and I got a really nice looking lawn. It comes by, it rains, and maybe it'll rain for 2 or 3 days. If it rains for 2 or 3 days, I go back out there. Within a week, my doggone lawn is higher than it was before I mowed it. And so, with that said, it's a constant struggle for me to have a nice looking yard out in my yard. And if I don't mow it for about a month, then I got little trees growing up in my yard. If I don't mow it for about a year, then I'm living in a jungle, literally. Nature has taken back what I have not used. Now, if you're gonna cut it down at such a rapid rate, it's going to take a long time for the plants to grow back and stuff. Some of these trees take hundreds of years to get as big as they are. That's understandable, But there's nothing. And I repeat, nothing. I've been studying science since I was a little zit-faced science geek, and I'm telling you, there is no chemical that we have ever made in the history of time that nature cannot deteriorate. We can put it together. We can mix this chemical with that chemical, and we can make some really cool synthetics. But even plastic itself, which they said would be in a dump for thousands of years. I go out metal detecting all the time, and I find deteriorated plastic and aluminum cans, which turns into their natural state, calcium carbonate. It's like a white powdery-looking substance, man. So, with that said, nature's in control of that portion. Somebody out there is making a buttload of money off of some bogus-ass science that you can sit there and you can watch for yourself. If you watch that video, the Earth Tilted that I put on there, and you actually do a little bit of experiment yourself, if you can't make a sundial, just go out and plug a stick in the dirt. And put a rock where the sun comes up in the morning, and put a rock where the sun goes down. And you will literally see that the pattern of the sun, when it's coming up, it changes. See, the Boy Scout manual says the sun rises in the east and it sets in the west. All right?
It moves.
Yeah.
We move, rather.
It's going back and forth because we're wobbling, man.
Yeah,
But
yeah, when I was a kid, directly across the road from our house, there's two houses, and the centre of those, like the gap between those two houses, line up with our front window, and the sun used to set dead centre between those two houses because it used to shine in and annoy my father while he was trying to have a beer at the dining room table. Now it is at least 15 degrees off to the left.
Yep.
So there is definitely movement there.
And so,
No doubt about it.
what would you say, in your opinion, Cultus, would the weather patterns do if the Earth changed at 15 degrees?
Well, I've actually got a perfect example for what's going on with that. Is if any of you out there have been paying attention to the weather patterns in the east coast of Australia over the last 10 years, that it basically started when I remember as a kid. The only place we ever had cyclones or any big storms like that we had up in Queensland, which is up in the northern the northernmost part of Australia. And maybe about 10 years ago, we started having like giant hailstones in New South Wales, which is the next state under Queensland. And only 2 years ago, we started having giant hailstones and cyclones in New South Wales and giant hailstones in Victoria, the southernmost state, ignoring Tasmania, because we broke that off and tried to push it away. But you've got definitely a pattern whereby the weather patterns are moving down the east coast of Australia, and we're getting these really bad storms that are progressively moving down.
And here's another thing, Cultus, is where I live in Missouri, we never had armadillos here. Never. And
right.
Literally, if you watch the animals will tell you what the weather's going to be because they'll go whichever direction.
Animals migrate. Yeah. Animals migrate to where it's their best place to survive.
So from Alabama up to Missouri, somehow or another, we got armadillos.
So those weather patterns in Australia would have nothing to do with weather modification, Cultus?
That's a whole nother topic there.
Well,
no, it's not. It's directly related. If you've got unprecedented weather patterns and they're dicking around with the weather, it is 2 + 2 = 4, not 5. If you mess around with the weather, it's going to change the Gulf Streams. It's going to change the climate. It is directly related. It's in no way a different topic whatsoever.
Well, here's the thing, guys.
I'm sorry, mate, but that's the truth.
Let's
ignore it or you can accept it.
Let's all remain friends.
We're friends. It's
okay,
just,
look here.
I'm sick and tired of people saying to me, if you pay enough, we'll cause a problem we started in the first place.
Listen, guys.
I would more denote those weather pattern changes to be the tilting of the Earth before I looked at human intervention.
Back in the old days, they used to use silver iodide to literally seed the clouds, and essentially made the clouds, the water molecules in the clouds heavier, and they would actually fall. And they really seriously did, back with old crop dusters, fly over clouds and drop silver iodide to try to get it to rain. And in sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. But as far as weather modification, there is a document out there called Owning the Weather by 2025 that was actually put out by the U.S. Air Force Academy or school or whatever. But they're actually talking about using basically the weather as a weapon. And they literally did that back in Vietnam, where they cloud seeded and tried to basically make the doggone trails so soggy that the people couldn't get their trucks and their supplies through on the route. So
this is the hang on. This is the owning the weather in 2025 is a research paper presented to the Air Force by several people. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got a copy of it.
They've also been cloud seeded for the Beijing Olympics, so it wouldn't rain on the opening ceremony.
So
since 1967, they've been able to steer, create, reduce, and completely dissipate cyclones, hurricanes, all the rest of it.
So if you've got something I know very little about, I'll have to do some research.
This is what I'm saying to people: do your research before you start telling people they have to start reducing their quality of life, so a bunch of billionaires can control you.
It's not beyond the realms of possibility for us to literally manipulate and tamper with the weather, but ultimately Mother Nature's in control, and if we step out of line, Mother Nature will kick our ass, literally. Okay, now I want you to visualize this for a second. I know I've used this analogy before, but if you've ever seen an opera singer and a crystal glass, when that opera singer raises the voice up, can literally cause the resonancy of her voice and that glass to match. And once it does match, the glass will begin to vibrate. And the longer she keeps that tone up, eventually the glass will literally shatter. So there's something that you can actually look up, that you can actually see, that is a physical reaction just with something from sound waves coming out and matching the resonancy of a crystal glass and causing it to shatter. So scientists have known this for years, that if you vibrate the ground at the right frequency, you can literally create an earthquake. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Tesla did it. Yeah, I mean,
I was about to say Tesla.
Yeah.
You and I know both quite well of that one.
So,
well, shazziz,
yeah.
I've got YouTube link in there of HAARP, which is like what they call the South Atlantic Diamond. Now, this is resonant frequencies being pumped into the upper atmosphere in a diamond shape. Now, you tell me that has nothing to do with the weather?
Well, I'm telling you, it does, because anytime you superheat the upper ionosphere, then you cause the upper ionosphere to bulge out into space, and when that happens, all the other layers of atmosphere rush in to fill that void, and when that does, you can literally scoot the jet stream over. And that's scientific proven fact. You know,
the jet stream comes across the south coast of Ireland. That has been moved.
So if people are literally tampering with the weather, see, here's the thing. If you take in conjunction the natural tilt of the earth, and then you throw on top of it people tampering with the weather as well, then you're going to get even worse weather patterns than you would have got naturally by the actual just the tilting of the earth alone. So with that said, why would they even want to do something as stupid as to try to create a blanket over the earth to try to block out the sun's radiation? It just doesn't make no damn sense, because every time a volcano erupts, we go through a cooling period. And that cooling period affects the Gulf Stream, it affects the weather, but then after a while nature balances itself out and then everything goes back to normal. So, you know, tampering with the weather, to me, is just a stupid idea. What do you think, Cultus?
Yeah, no, if there's people, and I say this because I haven't done any research into it, if there is people out there playing around with the weather, then, yeah, I mean, exactly as you say, you know, here we have the issue of the earth tilting, and we both know that to be fact. We've seen it with our own eyes. But in conjunction with fiddling around with Mother Nature in such a big way of, you know, cloud seeding and HAARP. I've heard about HAARP before, but I've never, you know, really delved into it too far. But yeah,
Shazziz built his own Cultus.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Shazziz built his own HAARP.
Yeah, I know. I've seen the videos. Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
here's what
we had a good long chat about that.
Here's what happens, Cultus. What they do. It started off years ago, and I got a really good book on this. I wish I could mail it to you, but it started off years ago, and I remember because I was actually paying attention to what was going on. They were taking like 50 watts of power, and they would bounce it off the upper atmosphere, and then they'd come back down, and by the return signal that they got back, they could literally tell whether there was oil or gas under the ground because of the
like
different
a radar sort of setup.
Yeah. And so they were running this. They were running these tests, but then they had noticed that there were certain anomalies that were occurring every time they did this. Well, when they bounced it up off the upper ionosphere and it come down, if it hit the right area and that low frequency would literally start vibrating stuff, and they would find that there were seismic activity going on in the areas where the if you can picture it at an angle, if I throw something up at a 45-degree angle where it's actually going to come down and hit the earth kind of deal, so it can actually be aimed around. You can have your antenna ray point anywhere on the doggone planet if you want. So anyway, when they realized that there was all kinds of different anomalies that was occurring during this deal, it got taken over by the military, and suddenly, instead of using like low 50 watts of power, they boosted it up to 1 billion watts of power. And so what it does is it goes up and it superheats the upper ionosphere and causes it to bulge out into space. You know, heat causes things to expand. And so as the upper ionosphere is actually bulging out into space, it literally, all them layers of atmosphere rush in to fill in that void, and it causes the jet stream to literally scoot over. And if you hold that long enough, you could literally create an earthquake, kind of like what, not earthquake, but a hurricane, like kind of like what was going on with Katrina, that would set out there off the shore, and it'd keep building and building and building, and then whenever you shut that sucker off, that dang energy behind that hurricane would literally rush in and slam against the shore. That sounds like science fiction. That sounds like something that's not even remotely freaking possible. But I'm telling you, when you're messing around with frequencies and you're vibrating stuff, man, you can see things that you were told never were even remotely possible.
Beat me up, Scotty.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for it, please, lads. Come on, let's get off this rock and go and explore.
You think the military would pass up a chance to have a weapon like that?
No, of course they're not. It's we go back to Tesla right about there, don't we? And,
yeah, Tesla's death ray. What was that all about? Look at the microwave. If you stand in front of a microwave, your water molecules, because they're a dipole molecule, will literally freaking boil you from, inside out.
Yep.
So we're talking microwaves. Everybody believes in microwaves, but nobody believes that we could actually tamper with the weather. We can tamper with the weather, but once again, Mother Nature will literally kick our ass. Mother Nature's in charge. We're just like little specks on a beautiful globe going through space. And so if we start monkeying around with things that we're not supposed to be monkeying around with, don't believe nature ain't going to tell you. I say it like this. It's kind of like a fish bowl, You got a goldfish in a bowl, and if you got fresh water in that bowl, if you don't ever mess with that fish bowl, that fish will pee and poo in its own water until it gets so acidic that the fish's gills will literally burn, and the fish will suffocate and die. It'll die in its own environment. So if there wasn't a natural force on the outside of our little fish bowls that we are literally polluting, because you can go down and you can see that people dump antifreeze and oil and crap down the drains, and it goes down and it affects the wildlife and the fish, and if dogs drink antifreeze and cats and whatever, they die. So we are poisoning ourselves in that fish bowl. But if we walked away from the city today, you go back down to the city a year from now, you wouldn't even be able to tell. You'd see weeds growing everywhere. You'd see the sky would be clear. You could stand on the hill and you could see the air would be fresh down over there. We're literally pissing in our own fishbowl, and if it wasn't for nature coming out doing what nature does, we'd have done killed ourselves off a long time ago. You see where I'm coming from?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, no. And that's what I was saying before. On the one thing that we can all agree on is that, we all just have to be nicer to Mother Nature as individuals. Forget about carbon, forget about all that crap. Forget about all that crap. At the end of the day, it comes down to number one. You have to make an individual choice to try to do something a little bit different and a little bit better. And that might mean turning a couple extra lights off, or riding a push bike down to the shops instead of getting in your car. But at the end of the day,
I can agree with
how
that.
is that going to help when in the 1950s they were looking at a common plastic to be used all over the world, and they had hundreds of different offers of chemical formulas for plastic, and the one they chose was the most toxic to humanity.
Yeah.
Exactly the same way as Tesla, when he proposed the electrical frequency that will be sent through wires, he said 50 to 60 hertz is detrimental to the human body, so that's the one they went with. Over and over again, we keep finding that the people that do control things, we don't control what sort of plastics we get in the various products that we use. We don't have any say over that, and it doesn't matter how much we protest, how much we complain, how much we reject what they're trying to give us. It doesn't change the fact that the mass of people are not particularly well educated on what they're using.
Yeah, but you brothers, you can always trust your government, man. They're so educated.
I was just thinking about him.
So, I mean, this business about turning the light off, why don't we start protesting and rejecting this idea that supposedly failed patents that don't work can be kept in dark rooms and back offices? If it doesn't work, release it and let us work on it, because we actually might get it working.
Well,
anything that would actually supply us with independence is restricted from us.
Steve, we
need to be controlled.
Steve, you hit on the key point of this whole entire deal. The key point is simply this, man. They've been sitting around for over 20 some odd years complaining about how we are literally destroying the earth because of our pollutants and our toxins, when all along there were guys out there like me and you and cultists that were literally sitting there showing, look, there's other alternatives. If you're going to bitch about this, let's do something about it. We don't have to use nuclear power. We don't even have to use coal. We don't have to use any fossil fuels of any types. There are so many different ways that nature has provided for energy that we could do this. So either, I'm trying to figure out a nice way to say this, either poop or get off the pot, you know? Stop complaining about global warming and pollution if you're not willing to do anything about it. These politicians don't want to solve this problem, otherwise it'd already be solved, because the technology's been around since the 1800s and probably even before that. I mean, it's there. But yet, guys like us that actually come out and rediscover these technologies and literally come up with designs and stuff that will work, they just need to be refined. These always get suppressed. Guys like Stan Myers end up having heart attacks, and so on down the line. The patents get bought up by corporations. It's like this, and it's plain and simple. If I got a trillion gallons of oil, and I want to sell this, I sure as hell don't want somebody coming up with an energy device that'll run somebody's car and their house without, any kind of oil, because now my oil just went from so much a barrel, $15 a barrel, all the way down to $0 a barrel because it's no longer needed. You see where I'm coming from?
Yeah, and there's also one thing that all these people who have gone missing over the years have in common, and it's not the fact that they've come up with a different form of energy. It's the fact that every single one of the silly bastards has tried to patent it and get freaking money for it.
And how, brother? Exactly.
So the only way we're going to get away with this is people like you and me. What we're going to do very soon is
give it away.
Is our Tesla coil tests, and everything will be live. Everything will be shown to the people as we do it. If we fail the first time, so be it. But we'll keep at it and we'll keep showing it, and eventually we're going to crack that code, and what has been seen will not be able to be unseen.
That's right. And now you know what old shazziz is up to, man. I'm telling you.
Turning off a light bulb and buying a bicycle isn't going to change anything.
Well, see, that's the thing, Steve. They got us arguing about that. That's neither here nor there. I'm going to turn every single light bulb I can on. I might even go out in my yard and start a tire fire, because I know that carbon can't escape gravity. If oxygen can't escape gravity, then carbon sure as hell is not going to escape gravity. I'm not worried about Mother Nature. I keep my yard clean. I keep everything. I don't trash my yard or anything like that. and I don't pollute the environment. I'm doing it on a small scale, but I know ultimately that Mother Nature is in charge, and there's nothing that we can do. You know, we could literally, and this is a fact, we could blow off every single nuclear bomb that we got. We can wipe ourselves completely out of existence. And it may take a few years, but the chemistry's here, nature's here. It will clean up the mess and start over as if we never even existed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but that's the thing we're trying to avoid, isn't it? The part that we never existed.
Yeah, well, that's it.
It is a bit of a detriment to the Saturday night out, isn't it?
But here's the thing. Here's the thing, folks. We have an opportunity. We got an opportunity right now. We're in the golden age of history. We have access to so much information. We have access to so many resources, and if we use that properly, we don't have to worry about nuking the planet. We need to get these knuckleheads out of office that are trying to get us into a nuclear war and tell them, look, stupid, you stand over there in the corner while we fix the planet because we ain't got no time for your craziness. So we bring all these people together here on MSI Radio and Awake Radio and all the different social networks out there. We Roar Radio, all these different social networks. And we broadcast this information to one another. We get up off our lazy bums and we actually start doing this stuff. We put our solutions in act and we make this world a better place without them turkeys. You see what I'm saying?
Well, the closest any human has ever come that isn't part of an elite group to splitting the nuclear atom was when Napoleon Dynamite was trying to put bubbles in beer. But I don't know any pig farmers from Limerick that have ever tried nuclear testing in the atmosphere, or underground, or in the sea. That's a very, very small group of people.
Hey, Steve.
Yeah.
Now, these are the ones we want to put some reins on.
Hey, Steve. You there, brother?
I'm here.
Okay. Do you remember Sparky?
I do.
Okay. You know how tall Sparky is?
Knee-high to a grasshopper.
All right, go watch my latest video called the Reactor Update. If you've already watched it, watch it again and try to visualize Sparky standing next to that. Now I brought my buddy Jim and my other friend over here, and I showed them something in my lab that I showed you guys in that video. Now, when you look on my lab table, when you see all these coils and all this kind of stuff, and you look at it, it looks kind of small, right?
Yeah.
Well, how's that going to power a house? Seriously, it's small.
Yeah.
All right, now imagine if you're Sparky's size. You see where I'm coming from?
Just scale it up.
That's right. So if you watch my videos and you think about why old Shazziz is making it the way that he's making it, and it looks small, and I get all these trolls that come around and say, oh, well, that's too small, you can't power your house with that, and they're all saying about, well, you need watts, you need amps, and you need this, and you need that. But if that thing shocks the crap out of me on that scale, imagine what it would do if I was the size of Sparky standing next to it.
Well, Shazziz, you can find the same mathematical formula in the way a tree spreads its leaves to catch sunlight. That spiral shape is exactly the same shape as a solar system. What's in the microcosm is also in the macrocosm.
Well, and I agree, but here's the thing, man. We're sitting around talking about these guys are looking for alternative energy. They're looking for 0-point energy. Nature gave them every bit of information, every single clue that they needed. All you got to do is watch nature, and nature will tell you how to get it what it is that you want. Look at a lightning bolt. Seriously, take a look at a lightning bolt. Go out there the next time it storms and watch what's going on. The atmosphere is positively charged. The earth is negatively charged. And so when the atmosphere gets high enough, it literally ionizes the air in between the atmosphere and the earth and shortens the gap for the negative electrons in the earth to make that leap up to the clouds. You see it whenever you go out and watch them making homemade lightning, where they take a little rocket and they'll put a spool of wire on the rocket. They'll put a ground wire down into the ground, and then they'll shoot that up into a cloud, and they'll get a bolt of lightning. Tesla showed the spark gap. The positive power that I'm talking about for baiting the electrons out of the earth was the energy that was stored in the capacitor. Once the capacitor gets fully charged, it is literally able to leap across that gap and pulse that coil, which sends a high pulse of high positive energy up, which then the negative electrons want to rush towards, and when that happens, it starts to energize the secondary coil. Well, right before the field gets ready to collapse, the capacitor bank's already recharged and ready to fire a second time. And when that happens, it's like driving a car down the road at 50 miles an hour and having another car come slamming the ass into your car doing 100 miles an hour. You get this amazing boost of energy. You see where I'm coming from?
Well, in the 1990s, they took some aeroplanes, some jet aircraft, with their gun cameras. They have special cameras on aircraft to sort of follow missiles as they fire them off to see if they hit their target.
Yeah, I've seen
and they did it over lightning clouds. Now, when these lightning strikes occur, they send superheated gases 15 kilometers into space.
Yep.
Now, one of the few gases in the world that can defy the laws of gravity is hydrogen.
That's why they put it in. That's why they put it in blimps, and now they went to helium because hydrogen ain't safe. Ergo the Hindenburg.
Yeah. It was also a valid technology for using concentrated energy. It's very dangerous to play with in pressurized formats, but it is a potential energy source if we can have the right equipment to use it safely.
But when it all comes down to it, guys, I keep telling everybody, and I try to stress this to everybody under the planet, we are more powerful. You personally are more powerful than you can possibly imagine. Just the power of the spoken word, the power of the pen, the power of your actions. That type of energy, I'm telling you, you can't beat. You can put enough negativity into your life to do amazing things in the reverse, or you can put enough positive things in your life to do amazing things in the positive spectrum. It's a choice up to you. We as humanity have the capabilities of doing so many amazing things if we took and combined our forces, like we're talking about with this virtual lab thing. It's just, all you got to do is pay attention. Nature will tell you what you're doing wrong. If you're doing it wrong, nature will let you know, and it'll hurt. Trust me.
You've stuck your finger on it a few times, haven't you?
Yeah.
Shazziz, are you familiar with a guy called G. Edward Griffin?
Yeah, it's been a while, if you want to refresh my memory.
Well, there was a documentary that somebody threw into the chat the other night. I think it was By Consent. I had a lot of people like Rob Menard and all of the Freeman guys, and they had G. Edward Griffin on for a small speech, and one of the things he pointed out is mass movements have never changed anything throughout the whole of history, and this guy, his speciality is human history. He said what has changed it is roughly around 6%.
Yeah, well, that's all we need, brother. Look, here's what I'm trying to say.
If we've got virtual labs, then that 6% can work together.
Yeah.
And provide the other 94% with the solutions they need.
Because you're
on
always...
that side of it, it's a real positive action. And if we're talking about solutions, I let my garden go to weed. It took 6 weeks from bare earth to 3-foot-high weeds. And I had animals in my garden I haven't seen since I moved here in 2003.
And some of them ain't too friendly.
Well, I mean, I don't like cats using my veg patch as a toilet, but even things like nature. I've never seen a goldfinch in my garden. And I was into ornithology as a kid, so I keep my eye out for birds, and I can recognise most of them in my local environment. But never once have I seen a goldfinch until I had about 20 dandelions, and they were picking the seeds out the head of the dandelion. So that is something positive we can do straight away, is stop cutting down our gardens. Let it grow for a short period. 6 weeks isn't so long. And the weather here is so wet and miserable. Nobody's going outside till June anyway.
There was a gardening show on here just a couple of nights ago where they were encouraging you to put fake butterflies in your garden to deter butterflies.
Why would you want to deter them?
Exactly.
Exactly. This is what I talk about, manipulation of perceptions.
Yeah.
I'm going to borrow...
It's just madness.
You want all these pretty leaves and you want the perfect garden. Sorry, you're a moron. You need Mother Nature in your garden.
Yep.
You need.
Let nature do what nature does. I'm gonna borrow a phrase from my buddy Cultus because I like it. He's talking about it. At the end of the day, none of this crap that we're hearing out there matters unless we are willing to, on an individual scale, actually get up and do something positive towards the world. You know, you go out and build you a big garden, you may be growing more food than you need. There's somebody in this world that needs that food. And so you're not hurting yourself. You're actually helping humanity by providing for others because you're going to have extra tomatoes or extra potatoes or extra vegetables that you're going to go out and you're going to share with your community around you. So if everyone's building a garden, then everyone has food. You see what I'm saying? Let nature do what nature does. If there's a bug that's supposed to be there, let him be. It's as simple as that.
I met a bunch of girls down in Portugal that are growing food within their own corporation complex. It's like a call centre with a big square in the middle, which is quite common in European countries. And they've converted it from where they go and smoke cigarettes to an actual allotment where they grow food for the local soup kitchen. So all the homeless people get access to fresh fruits and vegetables. Now, I sent them a whole chunk of organic and heritage seeds to grow specifically for that. And I see people like the European Union saying that I am a criminal if I give these seeds away for free.
Doggone you, criminal. Hey, I'm going to rip the tag off a mattress.
But this is the stuff that we need to reject. Don't protest it, just fundamentally reject it and say, look, guys, I don't know quite what you've been smoking. I know you're not that far from Amsterdam, but you've got to knock it on the edge because we're not buying it.
Here's the thing, Steve. This is where we're going to have to start, and people's going to have to realize this. If the mainstream media tells you that something's bad for you, if they tell me not to do something, I'm going to go out and do it because I don't believe a damn thing they say because their track record sucks. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just going to, whatever they tell me, I'm going to research it. If I feel it's good for me, I'm going that route, and to hell with them, because I've heard it all. I've seen it all. They told me about the hole in the ozone layer where everybody had to change the doggone Freon. They had to give up their hairspray and all that kind of crap. And they actually went to little squirty bottles for hairspray because they said the propellants were getting up there. Never mind what they initially taught in school, talking about the atomic weights of different materials and so on down the line. Never mind the fact that a doggone mountain climber goes up Mount Everest, and if he ain't careful, he's going to pass out from lack of blood, lack of oxygen to the brain. Never mind all that fact, Parts per million up in the sky is causing the planet to heat up at an alarming rate, and we're going to drown the polar bears. But yet the same guy who's out there preaching high on the pedestal buys him a house on the mansion. And we can even take him completely out of the picture. We can kick him to the curb. We don't even need him for what I'm trying to say.
The best illustration I can give to that is Al Gore spent $4 million on a condominium in San Francisco. By his own admission in his own videos, this inconvenient truth rubbish, if his prediction had been accurate, he would have had to park outside his apartment in a submarine.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, man.
Give me a break, yeah?
Here's the thing. These guys are making a fat load of cash. They want to keep the ball rolling. The science guys out there, they want to make some money too, and they want to keep their experiments rolling. When you're in the system, it's like Cultus was saying earlier, where the other guys screw up is they go try to get a patent. Where the mainstream scientists screw up, they want to tell the truth. I'm sure they do. But they can't tell the truth because if they do, their funding gets whacked. There's a lot of documentation out there, too, for global warming. There's a lot of documentation out there against global warming. But shuffle all that crap off the side. Shove it all down the hill. Think about the basic science of the deal. you want to tell me that somehow, magically, CO2, which is heavier than oxygen, can magically defy the laws of gravity and go where oxygen cannot? And I'm going to say to you then, everything that my science teacher was a liar, and if my science teacher's still alive, then I need to track him down and I need to wrap him in the mouth for ruining my life. You know what I'm saying?
Well, what we got to consider as well, with wind currents, they will lift CO2 into the upper atmosphere.
But even at that...
When it gets into the upper atmosphere, it sequesters into water droplets and falls back down as HCO3.
Well, they say water's the biggest greenhouse factor, but...
Well, HCO3, shazziz, is acid rain, and that actually has a function within nature. Because what it does is it breaks down nutrients from rocks and soil and all of the rest of it, and provides nutrients to plants. But when we start pumping all sorts of toxins into the atmosphere, this changes the chemical imbalance. We aren't responsible for the factories. I mean, people have protested and complained and done a lot of stuff about it over a long period of time. And I have a great deal of respect for the people that have. But it still isn't going to change the fact that people will keep polluting the atmosphere. A very small number of people.
All right, here's the thing.
And if we can't sort of take away their profit margins, they'll keep doing it.
Here's the thing. Okay, I am a practice what I preach kind of guy. I'm going to practice what I preach. If I am the government, if I'm a congressman or a senator or any representative of the world, and I tell people that we've got a serious problem, the planet is heating up, the last thing that I'm going to do is get on a corporate jet and fly across the damn sky. I'm going to say, look, we got to ground these planes because this is real. This is flat out real, and we got to stop it. Otherwise, humanity's going to die. We'll figure out how to get where we're going some other way in the meantime until we solve this issue, which they could have solved with electricity, whatever, a long time ago. You could fly with electricity. I don't care what anybody says. But that's neither here nor there at the moment. They're still flying jets. They're still allowing corporations to shoot rockets through the atmosphere to put telecommunication satellites in the sky. There's a multi-trillion-dollar industry in the sky. They're allowing rockets. They're allowing jet airplanes. They're allowing all kinds of tests for missiles or whatever. All this stuff is putting crud into the sky. I mean, high up in the atmosphere, not just down here where we're on the ground level. And so if you're seriously concerned about what it is that you're trying to tell the average Joe to turn off your light bulb, then turn off your jet. Walk it out, take the bus, ride a train, take a boat, and we get this problem under control before it destroys humanity. If they were really seriously afraid that we were going to destroy humanity by 2015, 2016, 2030, or whatever down the line, if they even really seriously gave a damn, if it was a real concern, do you not think that because they have children and grandchildren and their children's children's future, that these knuckleheads would say, look, we got to stop flying these planes until we get this under control? You see where I'm coming from?
Well, I have to agree with Coltis that buying yourself a bicycle is a good thing, because muscles, if you don't use them, you lose them. And the couch potatoes of the world are literally killing themselves, shoving themselves full of chemicals, getting no exercise. They're not getting out into the sunshine. We're not supposed to live in little boxes. So, Coltis, I can agree with you there. Getting a bicycle is a really good thing, but it's not going to get you 20 miles to work and 20 miles back again every day. Well, you'd end up killing yourself.
Here's a prime example of how the government is stupid. They're talking about here in America, they're not going to put any thing, but all they're going to put in the schools for food is diet and low fat and low carb stuff. Well, they got chemicals like aspartame and saccharin, which have been proven to produce bad side effects, and how they got passed by the EPA is beyond me, because this stuff is just flat out lethal to the human body, and it just builds up in your system until eventually, you know, you're biting the big one. But they're talking about making it so the kids aren't getting fat by putting cancer-causing chemicals in there for them to eat. So you don't want them to die of fat. You want them to die good-looking and skinny, so you're going to give them cancer-causing crap instead. Does it make any sense? Does our government officials of the world know better than the average Joe who sits there and does the research and realizes that, hey, man, these natural organic potatoes or tomatoes or carrots, you know, without all the pesticides and crap, they make me feel good, whereas opposed to when I go to the store and buy this crap, I end up being exhausted and I got low iron deficiencies and so on down the line. Hell's bells, Monsanto got the damn patent on food. How in the hell can you get a patent on food? Seriously.
Yeah. Just so you can make friggin' seeds that create the food that then won't germinate new fruit.
Yeah.
So you're forced to have to go back and buy it off them.
What happens if that stuff takes over? And now the only one you have is Monsanto. Monsanto becomes God because without food, you're dead.
Yeah.
Well, I put a link up there about wheat being the chronic poison. They found that one of the first genetically modified wheats that they use, which is the main crop on the planet for monoculture crops, has an artificial protein in it called gliadin. And that is hugely detrimental to human health. But that's what most bread is made out of. And people laugh at me because I make my own bread. They say you can buy it in the shop for £1.
Damn it,
well,
Steve!
I'm sure I can, but I can't trust it. I can't trust that I can eat it safely.
Damn it, Steve!
And then, oh, that's a conspiracy theory.
Damn it,
well,
Steve!
That's why I'm 11.5 stone and you're 14.
Damn it, Steve! You make me angry. You can always trust your government, brother.
Oh, sorry, yeah, I forgot. Vote for
Senator Bongwater.
Yeah, he'll tell you like it is.
President.
But you guys, can you see the ludicrousy of the whole damn deal? They're telling you, don't do as I say, do as I tell you. You know what I'm saying? Or no, don't do as I do, do as I tell you. Yeah. And so they want you to feed your kids all this crap that has been proven to be able to cause cancer.
And make sure you immunise your babies.
Yeah.
Oh, before they're born.
That way we can get the RFID chip in at the same time, and you'll never know.
Yeah, so everybody says, oh, well, it's a conspiracy. They don't really want to kill you. Okay, well, maybe they don't really want to kill us, but their dumbass actions are definitely killing us. I mean, they're trying to whack us, you know, by their stupidity.
And they know what's going on. This is why they're building underground bunkers.
Yeah, because eventually, when we all finally realize what the hell it is that they're actually up to, we're going to be pissed off. And by that time, they go from a smiley face to a target, you know. And so, you know, because I'm not going to allow nobody to kill my children intentionally. If I know they're fixing to kill my children, I'm going to do exactly what you guys would do. I'm gonna defend my family.
I'll have to use a pitchfork though. You realise that, right?
Yeah, but I'm going to use a banjo because it seems more...
Yeah!
Have you ever been hit with a banjo?
No.
I bet it wouldn't feel well.
The term banjo was what they used in secondary education in the early 1980s for the sort of stick you'd use to point on a board. But they also used that as a form of capital punishment. When I was 10... one of the teachers decided to discipline me with a banjo. So I took it off him and hit him back with it, then snapped it over my knee. And he didn't like it very much. I nearly got expelled for that.
So, you know, when you hit somebody with a banjo, you get that really cool twang sound, you know?
Yeah.
You can, like, play it like a music tune, twang, 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 you know? Anyway, this...
You see the link I put up earlier about Noah's Ark?
No, I missed it.
There's a guy in Holland that's actually built a 1/5 replica of the biblical Noah's Ark. It's 1/5 of the size that they suggested it was. Well, they've actually got in the North and South Poles special facilities where they're storing all of nature's natural unmodified seeds.
Yeah, the seed banks, yeah.
Okay, here we go. See, shouldn't that be a red flag? Shouldn't that be a telltale sign? Look, man. They're going to set
stashing them away, like when Monsanto's done, mate.
Yeah. So,
yeah, but who are they stashing them away for?
Yeah.
They sure ain't for us. Question. See, here, you know, they want to make sure, you know, I watched this when I was a kid. Every once in a while there was a kid that had a zit on his face, you know. It wasn't that bad. You know, the kid outgrew it eventually. And then they come up with this really cool zit cream that would get rid of the zits, all right? And they made millions of dollars on that, right? Well, why couldn't they have a cure for zits? All right, soap, water, you know, you clean out the bacteria out of your pores and everything's fine. You ain't got no zits. But instead, they put things inside the food and sodas and all that kind of stuff that kind of help feed the zit, so to speak.
That's the point, yep.
So you can't...
Why are they still collecting for cancer research once they've had the cure since the 1930s?
Yeah, you can't sell medicine if ain't nobody sick. You can't sell bullets if there ain't no wars. You can't sell oil if you have free energy. And so this is the whole thing, man. If people out there want to laugh and point, first they got to get their facts straight. It's not tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theories. It's aluminum foil, for Pete's sake. They do not sell tinfoil. It's aluminum foil. All right? So I got my aluminum foil hat on. I'm looking out at the blatantly obvious, and I'm pointing it out, and I'm saying, hey, that don't make no damn sense. And they're saying, oh, you're just a nutcase because you don't say what the government wants you to say. Well, you know what? Screw the government. That's what I got to say.
Yeah, walk a mile in my shoes and you'll see exactly what we see.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, you know, with that said, man, all this craziness going on in the world, it's just, you know, it's going to be up to us because you're not going to get no mainstream media to talk about anything important unless it affects them. And proof positive is when they found out that the NSA was spying on the reporters, suddenly it became an issue. Oh, wait, maybe the tinfoilers were right. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. And that's the way it always goes in a situation like that. They're you know,
well,
they're controlled. They're not interested in putting out anything that's going to get their license taken off them to broadcast, or
no,
get them stashed away and put in jail. So
don't want to take their bread off the table.
Or dead. That's right. I mean, there is a huge difference between, trying to live a quiet, peaceful life and doing the right thing. Sometimes you can't live a quiet, peaceful life when you want to do the right thing, when you have to do the right thing. Sometimes you've got to stand up, create waves, and put yourself on the front line.
Yeah.
That's just the bottom line.
And I think that's what we're all doing, man. I believe that, and I believe
that's what we're doing.
Yeah, I believe what MSI stands for and all these other networks out there, and it's just we got to keep it going, and we got to realize, and we have to realize this, that we may be the only ones standing up for the future of humanity. So if we stop now, what we do today,
exactly, shazziz,
we'll screw our children. We'll screw our children's children, and it'll be our fault, because we are the founding fathers, the founding mothers, sisters, brothers, cousins, aunts, uncles of our children's future. And so what we do today will define the world that they live in tomorrow. And I'm telling everyone out there, and I hope to heck that you really take this to heart. You as an individual are more powerful than you can possibly imagine. What you do seriously does make a difference. I don't want to lose any of you.
We are the ones who are going to leave behind the legacy.
That's right.
Well, between the cradle and the grave, in every person's existence comes a point where they have a choice to make. And what choices they make during that period define what sort of person they are. The question is how do you want to be defined?
Well said, Steve. Well said.
Well, brothers, we're down to the last probably 8 minutes of the show, and so with that said, I'm going to give you guys the 2 final words, and then I'm going to play a song that I keep burning a hole in.
All right, brother.
And
I'll give you the last word if you like, Colton.
And I play this song because, maybe you don't like the music artist or whatever, but whatever, if you listen to the words there, we got to pay attention to nature. We got to pay attention to one another, and we got to save the whales, we got to save the animals, we got to do this. But we also got to understand that nature is in control. And if we're going to kill anyone, it's going to be each other. If we're going to thrive into the future of humanity, it's going to be a choice that we make to work together and use the resources that we have available. Take it away, guys.
Alrighty,
I'll
let's...
give you the last word if you like, Coltus.
Yeah, no worries, mate.
All I've got to say is put your energy into how you want to live your life, not into catchwords, not into buzzwords, not into corporate phrases. Put your energy behind the people in your area and your community, not some sort of corporate funded scheme that's designed to basically destroy our quality of lives and turn us into slaves.
Yeah, that's well said. And with that, let's be constructive with the last few minutes we've got, and we'll hit on virtual labs again, because that's something that excites all three of us. And I had someone during the week, they wanted a description of what virtual labs was. They'd heard about us talking it on the radio, but they still weren't clear what it is, and I explained it to them like this. Virtual labs. All right, at the present moment, a lot of us use forums, and we use YouTube to try and share our information about. Virtual labs is basically going to be where Shazziz, myself, and other people, and that includes any of you out there who want to join in, will be able to set up a webcam inside your workshop. And when you get up in the morning and you're going to wander out to your workshop, into your lab and start working, you're going to flick on that webcam, you're going to log into virtual labs, and there we all are in virtual labs together, where we can all work in real time with each other, rather than this trying to, get everything out there one little bit at a time and then waiting for people to reply over a week. You get up in the morning, you go to your lab, you log into virtual labs, and here we all are in one place, all working together in the same time.
And how?
And yep. And on that note, Steve, is there any help you still require with virtual labs?
I was looking at Super Big Bad Man last night, and he had some sort of application running on a channel that allowed multiple Skype connections with video on one stream. It also incorporated things like Twitter, Facebook, everything all in one application.
I was actually watching. Is that his live stream you're talking about?
Yeah, that would build virtual labs overnight.
Yep. All right. Well,
there's a solution, mate.
Best we get stuck into him, mate. Best we get stuck into him, get all the details, and go from there. But with the actual coding and all that, you're sweet. You need some help. Is there?
Once I find out more about the application, I can probably get it running pretty rapidly.
All right, guys, we're running down to the wire.
There we go, guys. We're getting close. Virtual labs will be soon.
You guys
Yours,
keep in touch and stay tuned, because we'll get virtual labs together, and we'll keep on doing what it is we're doing. I have faith in it, and I believe in each and every one of you out there. So with that said, I just seen Michael come online. Everybody give your love to Michael. He's got a few bits of trouble going on, and his mama's not feeling so well, and everybody needs their mama, So with all that said, thanks, Coltus, for everything you did, and I'll